All right, next up on our agenda, I'd like you to welcome Sathya Nandakumar. She's going to be talking about owning the tech stack and giving you the guide to building in-house systems. Sathya Nandakumar is the CTO at Holland Barrett, and since 2020, she's been leading their move away from legacy systems and moving to build platforms in-house. So Sathya, please join us on the stage. A big round of applause for Sathya, please.
Hey everyone. First of all, thanks to CTO Craft for having me here. When they first reached out to me, I said, look, the most relevant journey I can talk about is the untold story of Holland Barrett technology. And this is not theory. This is what we've all gone through in our technology organization, in our business. And I'm just going to share the story, and hopefully it's relevant to some of you over here. H&B, I'm pretty sure many of you would know about it, right? 150-year-old health and wellness organization, and I definitely shouldn't be hitting that, as the first person said. We have 1,000 stores across UK, Ireland, Netherlands, and Belgium. We've got our digital presence there, 500 franchises globally. I'm younger than that, engineer since 97, IC management, and CTO of H&B from 2021. How many of you here are working in legacy retail finance organizations with inherited tech? So few of you here. So those of you who are digital, native first org, this might be a bit of an interesting story to hear about the other side, other side of the grass. And we all know the legacy trap which comes with these legacy organizations, right? It's a huge brand, it's brilliant, customers love it, everybody wants to make this as a success. But we also know the IT is a beautiful bunch of, I don't even think it's Lego, it's Jenga blocks, right? Stuck upon each other, precariously, somehow magically working. When it all comes together, we then have people who don't know how it works or people who kind of know how it works. Lots of vendors, limited expertise, and eventually you have tons of technical debt, tons of missed opportunities, and with the way in which our estate is evolving globally, technologically, these systems are no longer fit for the customer whom we want to serve. And Holland Barrett had its own horrible legacy stack. We had 30-year-old, 35-year-old AS400. We had Oracle. We had Excel spreadsheets. We had paper running our warehouse. And we had some amazing creative people who somehow managed to make it all work together. Lord knows how. But that was the beauty. And that's how actually the role was sold to me. Hey, Sathya, we've got all this. Do you want to come and build some tech, right? It's a great pitch to get a CTO to come in. We looked at all of this, and so I joined in 2019, and we were about to start, okay, what does this strategically look into? And of course, 2020 came, we all were hit with however COVID impacted in our lives. But that was also a tipping point. The system which we had couldn't even handle 4,000 concurrent users on the website. That was abysmal for a system that was so-called a digital platform running in 2020. SKU numbers, for those of you who don't know, SKU is your stock keeping unit. Anything that is sold by any retailer, it's the SKU. We were running out of SKU numbers. That was not the problem any retailer want to have, which means you can't bring in more products. We couldn't place more orders. Even if customers wanted to place orders, we couldn't physically take in more orders, and we couldn't systemically take in more orders. Yeah? We were running out of support. We were just running out of any ammunition. And we were a PE-backed company. So our investors were literally running out of patience. And you got to remember, this was the time when we saw the horror stories of House of Fraser, Debenhams, and every big giants who went down. And we were running out of growth and running out of our runway, which we had. And of course, for people who've been in PE back, the question was, hey, why don't you buy a system and it'll always magically solve our problem? There is no one ring to hold them all. Any system you buy, it is going to solve one part of the problem, and you've got to do things sequentially. We didn't have time. And the moment you start putting the timelines, we were looking at 2028 to even have a system that would match what was good in 2020. And you know that when you come to 2028, you're again going to have to redo it. And we were quite clear. Look, none of us know AS400. It's a magic box. It's a beautiful box. It works. We just don't know what we don't know. And before my time, people have done this before. And we had awesome, beautiful diagrams. I bet you folks, you would love those diagrams, but no working code. And I didn't want to be the leader who stood there and say, I've got awesome documentation, but no working code. And of course, with all the unknowns, we went with an absolute brave decision in 21 to build what we call currently as the Holland Barrett tech community, product, engineering, data, all the functions coming together. We stood up the squads from scratch. Again, for people who are familiar, these traditional retailers always had vendors, outsourced, someone else will solve the IT problems. This is where we bought in-house engineering. We also had to buy in a bit of a cultural shift to the company where they don't see tech as just as a cost or tech as a vendor, but tech as an equal partner. We use the word amigos, just being friendly with each other, where we held the engineering product and the business partner equally accountable for the outcomes and the objectives. We set up vertical squads across, so we had online squads, retail squads, commercial, supply chain, and within each of them we had the engineering, product, data, business working together. I wouldn't say it was smooth sailing. Some were more successful than the others. In fact, the biggest tech adopter were our store retail colleagues, not even our head office colleagues. Now there's something for you. And we also then designed our high-level architecture approach. We did not have the time to go with how is this going to work end-to-end. We came up with something very, very, very simple, very straightforward. We're going to have a master data systems. Our master data systems are our product, price, order, customer, what you would consider as master data in a retailer. And the squads who are building the master data systems, the statement to them was, you're going to give APIs when needed, you're going to be event-driven, and please make sure you're streaming the data into the data lake, because the data team was also set up fresh at that time. They were cooking the data, so they were building the data lake, data warehouse, BI, and so on. The teams and then the squads were expected to build either an orchestrator or a gateway pattern in order to facilitate the link between those services. A very simple example, you put your items, you go to your basket, a promo orchestrator will be called, or a basket orchestrator which calls the promo engine and goes, how do you stack the promotions here? What is then the value of the basket, right? So that's a very simple use case of an orchestrator. Then it goes to the channels. It could be your web channel, it could be your till, whatever be the case. Then the channels, which are the rendering platforms, uses this intermediate engines to render what would be the best customer experience. Very simple to say, damn hard to implement. But that was the high-level approach we gave to them. In 2021, we were new in the company, and we went, yep, let's go, let's demise Oracle. So Oracle was running our web platforms. Oracle was also running our store till estate. So you can see the scale of the problem, right? You're looking at a point of sale systems in 1,000 stores, and each store will have at least 3 to 4 till systems. And you're looking at the web platform across UK, Ireland, Netherlands, Belgium. We did not have a mobile app platform at that time, and we wanted to do that as well. And by end of 22, we were successful. We rolled out our in-house built tills. We rolled out our in-house e-commerce platform across all the territories. Again, it was not done in a single day. We all know it. It was feature flagged, percentage releases, tested, trialed, slow rollout of the features. But by end of 22, we had done all of it. And we also launched our app on the UK market, which was great because we never had that young customer intake into H&B. We were too proud of ourselves, right? So we just went, okay, let's go to my AS400. How hard can it be, right? We've done it. We've done Oracle. It's going to be the same. Oh my God, how wrong we were. First week, we'll think, we are near the finish line. We'll commit to a milestone, a deadline. There'll be another wall. And then we'll think, okay, we have solved this problem. There'll be another wall. There will be a field in AS400 which had an ampersand. And we wouldn't know what that ampersand for till somebody figured out, actually, that ampersand mean it's a medicinal product. And you kind of think, why? Why would anybody do this to me, right? So you literally had to do sort of a detective work. And please remember, we didn't have Claude or anything at that time to make our lives easier. This was human engineering people trying to look into the DB2 database. This was exhausting, folks. The teams were exhausted. We were losing trust of the business because imagine, we always had an excuse why we were late. And we were late consistently and continuously. And this was not good. It was not good for me. It was not good for the engineering teams. And we were not helping. It was almost like a bit of a stalemate on that. And for me, the reason, and it came to us, was we were building new tech fundamentally different to our commercial and supply chain operations when they were trying to scale. The commercial teams were launching new products. The supply chain team wanted to do automation. And here we were saying, hey, use these new systems, right? While you're doing your day job as well. That was never going to, that was never going to get the traction. And the entire company viewed the AS400 demise as a technology-led. They had no stake in the ground. They had no incentive to get off it. And finally, this was a day of reckoning because for us, the AS400 had been with the company for so long. That was our finance and audit master. And the story about how do we de-risk ourselves, we didn't know the end game. We didn't know how we were going to get out of it. And for me, the personal realization, this is not a tech demise. Unlike Oracle or anything else, this is absolutely not a technology demise. I needed help, my teams needed help because we were not going to achieve it. A bit of pragmatism, a bit of reality. I had an awesome CEO at that time, Alec Gorley, he's still on our board. And his first thing was, let me make AS400 as my objective. So he literally had an objective to demise AS400. That meant every person in the company, guess what? Have it in their objective. There was no going away from it. I thought twice before putting that word governance here in a CTO Craft because, my God, the moment you hear the word governance, something just happens to us mentally and morally, right? But trust me, folks, this is where I selfishly use governance to my advantage because I pointed the gun the other way around and I said, right, tech will be held accountable, so do I want the rest of my business colleagues to be as well. We are all accountable for this, to adopt the system, to change the system. We had a pattern that worked in our retail stores. So if you go to some of our retail stores, which are our tech champions, they know about MVP. They know that the first version of tech is going to be meh, but I know, I'll tell them the bugs and they'll fix it and they'll make it better. So we had a pattern there which worked. We took that pattern and built or created or expanded the scope of that team to help with the adoption of tech everywhere else. So they ran like fun surgeries, they had like cake meetings, like they had balloons and said, hey, come and talk to me about this new system we are going to launch. Something that is taken away from the engineering, the product functions, a bit of like championship. And finally, we sorted our approach to the end game. And this was all about storytelling. This diagram was not built by me. It's not a draw.io, it's not an ice panel diagram. The reason I'm sharing this here is anytime my finance counterparts and my risk team will talk about endgame, I didn't realize I was using a lot of jargons to tell how I'll approach it, right? So we all knew we are going to dual run, we are going to sync from here, we are then going to stream it, then we'll try and evaluate it. It was all going over their head. And this is where we got an awesome program manager who came in to support me. He drew this in a non-technical audience. So in his head, the way he said was, everybody knows database, everybody knows the name of your system. Remove all this Kafka, sync, and whatever you're talking about, Sathya. Let's just put it in how we are going to approach it. It took one meeting for me to get sign off on this, and that's how we went about in order to achieve what we have managed to do. The middle two parts were the worst times of our life because it took us 4 times more trying to validate how on earth AS400 works than actually building the software, folks. Having said all that, we did switch that machine off in September, you know, the one of the happiest, thank you. We literally turned it off, something I never thought we would achieve. And the comparison is so stark, right? And when I was putting the slide for this presentation is when I realized, oh my God, we haven't taken the time to even appreciate how far we have come. And we didn't have data, so you could never make data-driven decisions. Forget AI, it's garbage in, garbage out, right? Like simple decisions for in-day trading. We did not have any capability to scale. What we have now, so AWS is our cloud platform. We've got our microservices, scalable, data-driven decisions. We've got real-time metrics, both from an operational perspective and also from an engineering perspective. We have got the culture of FinOps so that we can make sure that we are not, you know, we are conscious of the cost. But the most important is the first one. What does Holland Barrett stand for? Yes, it's a retailer. Yes, it's one of the, you know, the longest and oldest retailer. But the mission and the vision was to make it beyond a retailer. We wanted to be the one-stop shop for wellness so that you don't come and look at the zillion magnesium and go, why am I having this many varieties of magnesium? You should be able to figure out naturally, right? You should be having the ability to do natural search, conversations, talk to a colleague, you know, talk on your app, whatever be the case. That was why we did what we did. Now that we have fixed our foundation for how a good system needs to work, we have laid the foundation for being the wellness platform for millions of customers. What we have done since, and when I say since, this is from September 2025 till where I'm standing now, we have launched our first version of our marketplace in our digital platform. We've got robots in our warehouse. I never thought that's even possible. So AutoStore in our warehouse, serving around 1 million units is there at the moment. We are going to be scaling it. We've launched our new loyalty platform. These are just examples to show once you unshackle your engineering teams, your product and your data teams from the machine of legacy, and with the fact that we've got all the fantastic AI tools to help them go faster, this is the leverage. This is what building an in-house team brings us. We are now a 300-strong software engineering team in UK, Spain, Portugal. We are a 500-plus tech team as a whole, including product and data. I've also got the first engineer sitting in the crowd. I won't call him out. But this is a big journey where we have come through. Personally, for me, it has been an interesting part of my life. Even my family knows about AS400. That's how bad the things were. Systems will work, folks, and I really resonate with the first two talks. Systems will always work. It's binary, 0, 1. It will work or it will not work. But what we need to do as leaders is understanding what the change means when you launch the systems. And that change is where your version of MVP might be different to what needs for the company as an MVP. Managing the change beyond the systems, beyond your teams. We also talk a lot about squad empowerment, right? Like we are all super passionate about it. You know, squads own the culture, the empowerment. But you got to also remind them, accountability. Every squad needs to know that the empowerment and accountability needs to be there together. A squad cannot go in a way for a program of this scale to create a lot of tech debt for another squad. You know, you can't just run this in isolation. So the constant reminder of empowerment, accountability, quality comes again and again. Find your storytellers. Honestly, I mean, this is my biggest learning. I needed the anchor to support me and to tell me when I need to slow down. I also needed the storyteller who will take it off me and translate what we have in our head to others in a way they can understand it. And we were crazy enough to change legacy, right? Of course we were crazy enough. And if you ask this journey to any other traditional retail or finance, they know this is a big risk to build everything in-house. But we were humble enough to learn along the way. And what we have now is a stack in H&B which powers offline, online, omnichannel. We are going on the advisory journey. We are going to be, unleashing AI across many of the areas where we see practical without losing the empathy of Holland Barrett support. But what we have done is we have owned the stack, we have also owned the destiny, and we have owned the transformation along the way. That's me, folks. Thank you very much. Thank you. Oh, I've got questions. I didn't realize that. How would you have done this all with the new tech and approaches? I think with the capability of the tools we've got, I wouldn't have done the detective hunting, right? I would have definitely shaved off a good year if we had some of the tools we have now at the moment. Because the time to detect what on earth AS400 database was doing is what was the worst one for us. The middle of that migration program sounds awful. How did you personally keep going? Humor, and probably, I was lucky, right? I had an amazing team, and just be authentic with your teams. Like, we used to have, we called it the war room calls every day at 5 o'clock between a few of us. Every day for the last year. And that war room was a part war room, part therapy session, you could name it however. But the beauty was when we started reducing the war room, we all felt so happy. So, just pick what works for you to keep you going. And I also have amazing, my personal family support as well. How did you balance, how did you convince the CEO? I was very lucky. Our CEO, he is ex-Walgreens, ex-Boots, ex-pharmacist. He's 60-plus-year-old, but oh my God, like he is a more tech champion than some of the other CEOs I've worked with. I think constant nagging and perseverance, folks, helps. Yeah. Absolutely. But you need to build a brand, right? Like, you need to build your brand to make sure that the CEO is able to trust you, and then you kind of use it to your advantage. How did you balance business how did you find the people element? Absolutely, people. They love AS400. What can I say? There were people in our organizations who have lived their life with that black and green screen for the 20 years in their career, right? So what are you doing as a tech? You're literally telling them your job is at risk. That is not an easy thing. That's why that's where we got the change and tech adoption team, which was outside of tech, to tell the tech story. You got to figure out I'm not going to be here naive and say there'll be no people impact. Of course there'll be people impact, but that's where you need to be clear in how you're approaching it, and how you're managing it, and how you are incentivizing those whom you need to come along in this journey. Business requests were continuously there. So this is the one, right? When we were transforming from 21 to 25, it didn't mean the business was stagnant. The business was continuously evolving, and therefore, we had to keep up with the pace of the business while also delivering the technology. I don't have a direct answer to it, but some of the tech approaches we did in terms of how we approach the business request was to abstract it away. So as an example, right, we had demised Oracle the year before. So therefore, when we wanted to go with self-checkout and do more interesting things in the retail space, we were able to go faster because we were not tied by AS400. So we found areas where we can accelerate faster. We then told areas where we need to pull back a bit. It's a constant conversation. But the thing is, you cannot stop transformation just because you're building new technology. That's just not going to work. So you got to balance them all. Thank you, folks. Thank you very much.